This is disgusting. It smells, it's falling apart, and you can hear the mice humping in the wall.
Oh, that was so awesome!
Stewie and Brian are possibly one of the most iconic duos in cartoon history. But which are their best moments together? We don't know for sure, but we found some very cool ones, so get ready.
I'll have to swing by Wyndham's before they close.
Relax, I'm almost done.
And why do you have a safety deposit box anyway? What's in there that you can't bury in the yard?
I have things.
You have a dead bird in there? What are you going to do with that?
You spent $3,000 on a sweater?
What's it to you?
That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. You're a moron. A pretentious moron.
What better way to start a video about Brian and Stewie than with an episode named after them? This episode might be one of the most emotional in the whole series because it takes a deep dive into Brian and Stewie's relationship after they get locked inside a bank vault. Our heroes spent a whole weekend inside that vault, and they talk about important matters in life such as self-harm and suicide. And Stewie even tells Brian that he's one of his best friends and he depends so much on his doggy companion. We heavily recommend this one.
Yes, I'd like to see the Army recruiter.
Oh, you'll have to have a seat. There's a 25-minute wait.
25 minutes? Oh, God. All right, I better go put more money in the meter.
Are Brian and Stewie national heroes? Well, at least they joined the army in this one. In this Saving Private Ryan homage, Stewie and Brian search for new adventures and they end up enrolling themselves in the army. They're sent to the front lines and have to fight, making a great representation of the war in Iraq. This episode also shows a little bit of Stewie's darker side with some of his acts while fighting, and this creates a very emotional arc during the episode. We've seen Stewie and Brian trying to experiment with time travel a lot of times during the series' history, but this episode is a very special one. Brian had a very cool idea here, and he decided to turn back time so he could impress more and more women. After all this chaos, time starts moving in reverse, thus creating one of the best sci-fi episodes that Family Guy has ever seen. The funny thing is that to save the day, Brian goes so far back that he even plays a big part in Stewie's birth. You can even re-watch Peter's fight with the chicken. Such a cool episode.
Hey, Peter, it's 7 o'clock and you've still got your pants on. What's the occasion?
Ew, I remember this. Peter's eye did that weird creepy thing where it went over his nose.
Come on, you're worrying about nothing.
Oh, remember when you got drunk off the communion wine at church?
Ah, ew, gross. Look at that.
How about a little more time traveling? Since it's airing in the 10th season of the show, Back to the Pilot has gained the love of many Family Guy fans for its over-the-top plot and memorable moments. In this fantastic episode, both Brian and Stewie use their time-traveling knowledge to go back to the first ever episode of the series, aired in 1999. This brings some side effects like Stewie trying to stop the September 11th attacks, but you know that when it comes to time traveling, you cannot interact with the past because the future will change. This is a must-watch episode because it could change all of Family Guy's historical landscape.
What is that?
It ain't a box of chocolates. Vacuum cleaner!
I hate my life and nobody can hear me say it right now!
We know that Stewie is a very vengeful little boy, but he went too far in this episode. To achieve revenge against Brian for calling him short, Stewie proceeds to create a machine to shrink him. This creates a super funny scenario in which Brian and Stewie have to face the many problems of becoming super little. Due to this, our heroes end up fighting many things like insects, bacteria, and many other pint-sized organisms organisms, with the added danger of being so small that normal people look like giants around them. Will they be able to get back to their usual size? If you're a big sci-fi fan, you should watch this masterpiece of an episode to find out.
How I love a girl who's flawless, even better when she's braless. But the thing that tops it all is when we swing.
What would you do if you saw Brian as a singer? Well, if you have a midlife crisis like Brian in this episode, you might join a band with Frank Sinatra Jr. This episode also includes Stewie's funny musical adventure to form a replica of the Rat Pack. But this doesn't go too well because Brian ends up falling into alcoholism and messing up his relationship with Stewie. Brian even bites him. This might have more emotional implications than the ones that were shown at first.
Hey, what's up, B-Rye?
Stewie, just give me a beer. I've had a bad day. I cheated on that assignment.
You know, I haven't taken a shower since we got here. I totally reek, man. Check this out.
Ah, come on!
Tell me that's not epic.
We always knew that Stewie was a genius, so it was just a matter of time until we saw him in college. After getting encouraged by Lois to go back to college, Brian decides to move himself back to Brown University, and of course, Stewie moves with him. This episode presents us with the debate of cheating versus not cheating in exams, as Brian gets higher grades with Stewie's help and copying. Also, seeing both of our heroes running wild on campus is a really cool experience. We can even see Peter trying to form his own A-team in this episode.
No way, those guys have a TV in their car. They're watching Operation Dumbo 6 with Don Knotts.
Professor, you've got to impregnate this elephant or the entire species will become extinct.
You mean I gotta put this thing in that thing?
What about Family Guy meeting Home Alone? Brian might play a lesser role in this episode, but we couldn't leave this magnificent Stewie adventure out. After Peter blackmails a convenience store to give him an unlimited supply of gas for a year, the Griffin family goes for a super cool vacation. The funny thing is that they leave Stewie alone at home, and as soon as he notices that, a lot of chaotic things start to happen. To make this episode even funnier, we see moments like Cleveland and Quagmire trying to babysit him, and they end up locked down in the basement watching the 24-hour DirecTV help channel. Even Stewie gets a new job in this episode. In the end, Stewie realizes how much he loves his family and how much he depends on them.
Hey, what's going on?
There's a little girl down in that well.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, nobody's arms are long enough to reach her, except that one guy. But he's helping that woman tickle a midget in a tree.
Tee-hee! Stop it! Tee-hee!
Wait, how did Stewie and Brian get stuck with each other? Stewie and Brian had a small accident here because after they go to the mall, their hands end up attached because they had industrial strength adhesive on them. This episode has our heroes holding their hands until they find a solvent able to separate them and dissolve the adhesive, creating tons of cool and great situations that only real Family Guy fans will enjoy.
I just wanted to thank you for everything you did today. I know this whole trip has been a mess.
Well, it hasn't been all bad. I must admit there have been some moments that were, dare I say, fun. We're off on the road to Rhode Island.
How could we forget about the Road To series? If we're talking about Brian and Stewie, The Road To is probably one of the best mini-series in Family Guy's long-lasting history. In this compilation of episodes, Brian and Stewie travel to many different locations, which includes the Disney multiverse, Germany to experience something similar to World War II, Vegas to create some clones, and many more cool destinations. We would feel guilty if we spoil you on these fantastic episodes, so get comfortable and watch them. So there you have it, Family Guy fans. Those are some of the best Brian and Stewie episodes that you can find in your favorite show. If you like the video, please subscribe to our channel so we can provide you with even funnier Family Guy content. Until the next time, goodbye.
Why, we can get it for a steal, Brian. We fix it up and sell it for a huge profit.
You're crazy. No, I'm not going to buy this house with you.
Fine, I'll just give the profits to another investor. Plenty of others interested.
Oh, yeah, like who?
Mort Goldman, for one. Says it's a smart investment, but what does he know? He's only Jewish.